A break in league fixtures has given Rovers time to reset and refresh ahead of 10 league games between now and the new year. Back-to-back cup wins over Scunthorpe gave them something to build on, with the hope now they can take that into this weekend's game against Lincoln. Both teams are yet to get anywhere near the heights reached last season, and a win for either of them here could prove crucial. It's the LNER derby at the Keepmoat Stadium as Rovers take on Lincoln. Hello, welcome back. It's good to have you with us for the latest edition of the Inside Rovers pre-match show. Joining me to look ahead to Saturday's game against Lincoln, editor of the Doncaster Free Press, Liam Hoden, and co-founder of the Women's Supporters Group, Lizzie Robinson. Lizzie, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Really good, thank you. It's really nice to be here. A bit surreal being on the pitch.
And looking forward to the game this weekend?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a massive thing for the Women's Supporters Group because we're meeting up with the Lady Imps, who are the number one sort of group of this type, and obviously they're the Lincoln fans, so it'd be really fun to meet up with them as well.
Let's take a look then at what's coming up on the show tonight. Lizzie talks us through the forming of the Women's Supporters Group. We get the best of the action from the Papa John's Trophy win over Scunthorpe. Richie Wellens discusses going up against Michael Appleton. We get our hands on the latest Rovers third shirt. And we have the latest away fans feature as Lizzie chats to Lincoln fan Maria on their season so far. A packed show then coming up tonight. Lizzie, start us off then by talking about the Women's Supporters Group, sort of when it was formed for people who aren't aware of it, when it was formed and what the main aims are from it from your perspective.
Well, it was formed sort of between last season and this season, and when Dean, the Support and Liaison Officer, contacted me and a couple of other people about the rise of her game too, and whether the club would be interested in doing something like that. And obviously we absolutely would, because women at football are overlooked quite a lot, whether they're playing, working in football or just supporting it like me. And yeah, I mean, the aim is just to keep building it and making more people feel comfortable to come to the Keepmoat, especially women, but anybody really, just anybody in the community.
How important is that for you as well, as a young female, a Rovers fan coming to games? You want to feel like there shouldn't be any difference in you coming to 10,000 men coming to a game.
Exactly. I mean, I've been coming since I was in the pushchair. So, my dad just brainwashed me, but I sit in a very specific seat, have done since I was 7. Everybody that sits around me, they're men of a certain age, and that's fine, and it's nice seeing them, it's nice to have that community. But since we set up the Women's Supporters Group, I know so many women who support Rovers who've been going all their lives or have just started going, and you see each other at games and you say hello to people, and that's massive, because when the abuse does happen, you don't feel alone. You feel like there's so many more people who've been through what you go through, because it is quite isolating, I think, when you're a woman who watches football, especially at a smaller club. So yeah, it's been really positive so far. And
I suppose women from all different backgrounds as well, whether it's single mothers who sons are really into football but haven't found that place to come and take them yet, to know that they can come to a place where it's all welcomed is good for them as well. Yeah, and I think we're really privileged with Club Doncaster being so welcoming to people in the community. Sort of the Bellevue Bar is it's like away fans and home fans are allowed in, it's family friendly, the whole club is. So it doesn't matter if you're someone who's been going for years with a partner who's passed away, or somebody who's never been to a game but their child is obsessed with football, and this is just right on the doorstep. It's bums on seats basically is what we want, and it benefits everybody, no matter who you are, whether you're a fan, whether you work at the club, or whether you're a woman like me. It's just massive, and it's really nice to see that people are supporting it too. You touched on meeting up with the Lady Imps this weekend. Are they at the level that we should be aspiring to, given what they've done for their club? Absolutely. They're amazing. They do so much work with the community. They raise money for local charities. They do massive social events in Lincoln with hundreds of women and people who are supporting the struggle as well, not men. And they work with the community as well, groups that aren't just women that wouldn't go to games. So people of different cultures, people who might feel uncomfortable because they're swearing, or might feel like football's not for them. Because frankly, football's for everyone. And a small club like ours or like Lincoln, it should be about getting the community involved. When you've got a stadium like this in a town like Doncaster, it should be full of people, and for me that's what I'd like to achieve, and it's what the Lady Imps have achieved for 5 years now. Liam, it's great to see, isn't it? And I think the main thing that everyone wants to give a point of is football is everyone's game, and at Doncaster Rovers, if you're a Rovers fan, you're welcome here.
Definitely, that's what you need. You know, it's a community club, and all clubs should be community clubs. There's so much talk about how they are the centre of the communities. Well, they've got to be welcoming to everyone. So initiatives like this are superb.
Back on the field then, it's been a good couple of weeks for Rovers in terms of progression in the cup competitions. Here are the best bits from the Papa John's Trophy win at Scunthorpe.
Accidental. Good joke.
Liam, it was two important victories at the Sands venue stadium, or Glanford Park as everyone obviously knows it as. Particularly the second one, in terms of the goal scoring, Rovers could and should have been way out of sight. The two goals Scunthorpe did get slightly flattered them, didn't they, later on?
Yeah, definitely. Rovers were comfortable, really comfortable, and deservedly so. They should have been comfortable in the FA Cup game. You know, in that second half they dominated it. Bit of a lacklustre first half, but really good second half where they really should have, barring putting the ball in the back of the net, really good performance. But they turned it on Tuesday night. A little bit less pressure in that one, but what was great to see, Joe Dodo in particular, you know, that the confident runs that he had for both of his goals and really good finishes. Hopefully now he in particular can take that goal scoring form forward.
Lizzie, it was a record-breaking night for the academy as well. So many of them involved, whether it was Ben Blythe and Brandon Horton, Lirac, who were a bit older, or the really young lads, Tavonga, getting 80-odd minutes under his belt and an assist. Good night for everyone all round.
Yeah, and it's given Richie Wellens a different selection nightmare to the one he's used to, I think, with all the injuries. Now he's got a crop of, you know, younger players who could come in and do a job and have proven that they can against a strongish Scunthorpe side. But yeah, I think it's really good to see the academy players coming through, because we've not had many that have gone on to great things since maybe James Husband, in my opinion, who's now off in the Championship playing every week. And I want more players like that. I want players like Lewis Jones, who are on the fringes, to be more involved as well, because it's about people of Doncaster and people who've been at the academy doing well for the club. It's really important.
Well, Liam, one player who tends to stand out for me whenever he plays, I could talk all day about the way he looks so composed from the back, Ben Blythe. He's not the biggest centre half, but when he's in possession, he knows exactly where the ball's going to go. He's so assured, and the same with his positioning off the ball as well. He seemed to make Tom Anderson's life easy on the Tuesday night as well. Yeah,
it always reminds me of something like what Rio Ferdinand talked about of his game. You know, it weren't so much about making last-ditch tackles, because all his game was reading the game so well. Ben's got elements of that. I'm not comparing him to Rio Ferdinand in that thing, but the way he reads things, that ball's coming forward and times his runs superbly to cut things out, it were excellent. There were a few occasions at Scunthorpe where that were really good stuff, and yeah, mature beyond his years in that sense.
Yeah, Saturday's game against Lincoln will see Richie Wellens come up against a man he knows well in the opposition dugout. Here's what he's had to say on going up against Michael Appleton.
What do you think of Lincoln? No, again, Michael Appleton, I've got a lot of time. I was a young kid at Man United when Appleton was probably 2 or 3 years older than me. Good footballer, had a bad injury which meant he went into coaching really early. He's been fantastic. For Lincoln, You look at him last year, really good team, unfortunate not to go up, and then he loses all his best players who are loan players. So he's done a great job. I think they're a tough start to the season, they're just picking up now. Got some good players and a good manager, so it's a threat. But we're at home and we expect to win again.
Liam, Richie Wellens made the point. Michael Appleton, somebody he knows well, a couple of years ahead of him in the academy at Manchester United, and another young manager who's plying his trade in the EFL. And I suppose Lincoln's similar to Rovers in some ways in the way they're going through a transition season, aren't they, really? After such a good year last time around, when you lose your best players, it's hard to replace every single one of them. Yeah,
it's an interesting test for Michael Appleton, who's done a fantastic job at Lincoln. I really do like him as a manager. He's made some big impacts at quite a few clubs now for a fairly young manager. But yeah, it's a difficult period for him, as you say, losing your best players. It's always got to take some recovering from. But I think the green shoots of recovery do seem to be there for Lincoln, and I think optimism's going over there that they can perhaps mount a late push for the playoffs.
Yeah, they've turned a bit of a corner recently, Lizzie, haven't they? After a slow start, you always tend to see it. A team who's beaten in the playoff final tend to have that hangover, don't they, the season after. But what they have got is the continuity in manager, somebody who knows the league, knows what he wants from his team as well.
Yeah, I think consistency at our level is really important when it comes to a manager. I think you look at Gareth Ainsworth at Wycombe, don't you, who's been there nearly a decade, and they've got quite a lot of success and they're punching above their weight because of it. Michael Appleton's quite clearly a very good manager, and there was never a point where I thought he was at risk of his job. He just needed time, and that's unfortunately becoming evident as the season progresses, as we get closer to our game with them. But yeah, Lincoln's just a club with massive support as well, which I think helps. They've got a real fortress at Sincil Bank, haven't they?
Yeah, and Rovers' home form itself, 11 points taken so far, is night and day compared to the away form. They are doing it tough at the minute. I mean, Richie's press conference on Thursday pretty much showing how bad it is and how tough it is in terms of injuries. Fayok and Abiri long term, even more long term than he's already been. Cameron John the same. Roshan Williams out for a few weeks. He hasn't had, and he probably won't have all season, looking at it now, his strongest 11 to pick from. So he's going to have to do it the hard way.
He really is. He really is. I think whether he ever actually gets used to that is another thing, because there's just blow after blow after blow. Hopefully, it's kind of it's harsh to say it, but the Faye and Cam John stuff now, you kind of put that to bed. You know, you're not expecting them back, so you move on from that, and hopefully with the rest of the squad, as many of them can be available as possible.
Now, the theme for Rovers' third shirt this season is mental health struggles aren't always visible, and here are the first team lads playing their part in that.
Hello, how are you?
No, really. How are you?
Mental health struggles aren't always visible.
That's why we're encouraging everybody to ask twice.
Be there for your mate.
When things are hard, Calm are here for you.
So Lizzie's modelling the shirt for us, Liam. Having seen the ones that Rovers and Calm have produced over the past few years, what do you make to it?
It's probably not quite as dramatic as some of the other designs from previous years, but the message, you know, it's just as strong, and it sums it up perfectly. I really like it.
Lizzie, particularly, of course, coming out of lockdown and the struggles that many people will have had during that time, it's crucial, isn't it, for people to know that they can talk to everyone, and we've seen Calm get involved in everything, stretching right back to 3 or 4 seasons ago now. It's so crucial for everyone to know they can speak out if they need to.
Yeah, definitely. I think the club have done so much good work with Calm over the last few years. I mean, ever since the tragedy of Matty Blair's brother, that's what sticks in my mind as a fan. And the shirts we've produced as a consequence of that, Liam's right, they've always been really loud and distinctive. But this one's so important because of the message, isn't it? It's true. You don't know if everybody's okay, and especially at the minute with the lockdowns and everything that's been happening, it's a really good message, and yeah, I like it.
And Liam, although it's not bright, it does catch your eye for a different reason, and you sort of go, "Oh, what's that about?" Don't you? If that makes sense.
You've really got to look at it to see the message, so you're not going to be in any doubt what that message is once you've really concentrated on it. No, I really like it.
Moving on then, the EFL Girls' Cup competition took place earlier this month, and let's take a look at some of the action.
So encouraging to see so many girls playing in such a good tournament, really, and the enthusiasm and the skill has really taken me aback. It just shows you that heritage is here, and we've still got the name, and these girls aspire to play for our first team, which is what we're all about, really. Like you said, it's encouraging not only from our perspective but from the girls' perspective as well. That they've become part of a team. They can see what girls' football's all about. I think it's brilliant today. Superb.
The final of that competition will be played in December. Now, as always, it's good to get opposition fans' view on the Inside Rovers pre-match show. And here's Imps fan Maria chatting to Lizzie about their season of transition so far.
I'm joined today by Maria, who was one of the organisers of the Lady Imps Supporters Association, which, for me, they're a massive inspiration for what we want to achieve with the Women's Supporters Group at Doncaster Rovers.
Thank you, and thanks for inviting me onto your shows.
Obviously, on Saturday, we're playing Lincoln, and we're going to be meeting up with the Lady Imps, which is massive and really exciting.
I'm so excited. So we've so Lady Imps started in kind of 2017.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have, I mean, I've been part of a supporters network group through Fans for Diversity and the Football Supporters Association, but there's never been kind of groups particularly for women to kind of get involved with specifically. And the Amber Bells have kind of developed at Cambridge. So I went to the away game and kind of met up with them. And again, it's a really small kind of fledgling group, but really exciting. So to start having this network of groups that we can meet up with and to be able to kind of meet on a match day, I'm so excited. And, you know, I've got members contacting me already going, oh, you know, I want to be there for the meet. And so hopefully there should be a nice little crowd of us to meet and have a drink and say hello.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about. You know, come kick off, you know, no friendship. But outside of that, absolutely.
How are Lincoln doing? How are you feeling about the season so far?
Well, I think it's been really difficult because we had such an incredible kind of run to the end of last season in the playoffs. And okay, it wasn't our year. And then so we've had some issues. We've had injury issues. Obviously our manager Michael Appleton hasn't been very well, and you know, just the finances and just coping with, you know, getting a team structure and getting your players to work together and all of that. So it's been a bit not wobbly, but a bit mixed, I suppose, in terms of how we've performed. And we're kind of, I think we're about 15th in the table at the minute, and we'd been a little bit higher than that. So I don't think we've got any pretensions that we're going to, you know, kick League One and get into the playoffs or you know, get promoted. But I think to stay around middle of the table, I think, is a reasonable hope and expectation for the season generally.
So I mean, what's your prediction? Is there anybody to watch out of your players, and what's your prediction for Saturday?
Oh, it's so difficult. Well, I think if we get Anthony Scully back, watch out for him. You know, he's a really good player. See, I like Regan Poole as well, as a player for us, you know, defensively. So yeah, those would be interesting. And my score prediction will be, let's go 2-1 to us.
If you do want to chat to us about football on Saturday, come to the Bellevue Bar, have a beer or any drink, you know, a pie, sit and chat to us. We don't bite, and we just like football. If you like talking about football, you'll like talking to us. And thank you very much for talking to me, Maria. And so thank you again.
Lizzie, it's a massive game, this one at the weekend, isn't it, for both teams? Lincoln 5 points outside the relegation zone, Rovers 3 points from safety. So if either of the two teams are to pick up 3 points, it either takes one well away from the relegation zone or pushes one just almost to the brink of getting out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're both in sort of similar positions where there could be a turning point in our seasons now. In our last 5 games, the form is identical. Like the games that we've won, lost and drawn are like identical. So we're coming up, both of us, on the back of 2 wins. So it'll be certainly interesting to see who comes out on top. But given our home record, I'm quite optimistic.
And of course, Rovers did the double over Lincoln last season. And recently, take out that Charlton result, which was, when you look at it, a bit of an anomaly, although a very bad one at the time, Lee, and we both struggled through that afternoon at the Valley. But Rovers do look like they're more difficult to beat. They're not conceding as many soft goals, if you like, and now it's about turning that into goals at the other end as well.
Yeah, building that solidity at the back allows you to express yourself a little bit more higher up the pitch. That's what Rovers really need to do now. Kick on, start scoring some goals. This is going to be a tough one. It always is. They're getting to, there were tough games last season, although Rovers did do the double, so always tough. But yeah, as Lizzie said, home form's been pretty good. This is where Rovers have kind of showed what they're all about more, certainly more than away from home. And the opportunity is there to go out and get a win.
What do you see Richie Wellens doing in terms of, I suppose Tommy Rowe is the biggest dilemma of players that's fit. Where do you play him? Do you put him back to left back and look for that bit of solidity, or do you give Brandon Horton a run at what you would say is a deserved run as well, given the way he's performed in the last couple, and put Rowe in a more advanced position and try and get him in on the goal scoring charts again?
It's interesting because there's so many things to consider. Obviously Joseph Hollowell's going to be at centre half, you would think, with Roshan Williams being injured, so that moves him away from that left back spot. But that's a player to settle in as well, so you can't, do you go with the experience of Tommy Rowe in the left back slot just to help Joe through it as well? I think Brandon Horton's done really well in the last couple of games, certainly in that FA Cup game. I thought he did really well when he came on, so yeah, I won't have any issue with seeing Brandon Horton in there, and we know Tommy Rowe can be more effective higher up the pitch.
Of course, we mentioned the injuries to Okenabiri, John and Williams earlier on. There's also no Huula by the looks of it this weekend, which gives the manager another problem. And who do you put on that wide left position? Do you go for Dodu and try and sort of fix problems elsewhere? You would imagine maybe Vilka to the right, Dodu to the left if you're a betting man.
Possibly. I would like to see Dodo through the middle again.
He's a fall guy, isn't he?
Yeah, seems to be. I mean, fingers crossed John Taylor can make some sort of impression. Richie Wellens very coy about how ready John Taylor is to start the game, so I don't know whether it would be a little bit too early. But yeah, I was impressed with Rodrigo Vilca as well in that Papa John's Trophy game at Scunthorpe. I thought it was very lively, and hopefully he can build a bit of confidence as well.
Of course, Tavonga Kalea got 80 minutes in the Papa John's. I think it may be a bit too much of an ask to throw him in for a first team game in the league, isn't it? Maybe a bit too early for that.
Yeah, I would say so. But given his attributes, his pace, and he was very confident in that game as well, which is always a big thing when a player's making his debut. You won't. He's an option off the bench potentially. With what he brings. He's had that first taste of senior football now, so he was not going to be overawed by it. Maybe that is an option, and that's what Rovers have lacked. We've talked about it before, in terms of the options coming off the bench, the game-changing option. He could be just that.
Lizzie, we've had 3 international breaks so far this season. Now there's a real stretch of games where Rovers can try and claw some ground back on the teams above. There's 3 games in the space of a week, starting with this one on Saturday. If Rovers can sort of build some more momentum in that first week, then we could be getting to the Christmas period and the league looks a little bit different.
Yeah, I think we could be in a better position by Christmas if we keep going as we're going. I mean, yeah, I'm quietly confident, to be honest. I think we're looking a lot more solid, and our confidence is definitely coming after the Crewe game as well, when we didn't lose.
Go on then, how do you see it going? What's your prediction for Saturday's game?
I don't want to steal Liam's thunder, but I do think 2-1 Rovers.
Liam, are you going to stick to that then, or are you going to change tack?
I was thinking for this one, tight again, 1-0.
We'll take it. Liam, Lizzie, thank you for your company, and thank you for watching at home as well. Come down and support the lads on Saturday afternoon. It's another big game here as Rovers take on Lincoln City.